My name is Julia Manghis. I am one of the senior customer success managers here at Hi Marley, and I partner with our customers to ensure that their managers and adjusters are utilizing Hi Marley to the best of its ability while introducing texting and aligning their strategy for their claims automation. I'm joined here with Jason. Jason?
Hi, Julia. Thanks for having me. I'm Jason Bidinger with Westfield, and I'm a process leader on our claim strategy team here at Westfield, and responsible for our process and technology efforts, and really to help our people implement new process and understand the benefits of automation and various technologies that we implement.
Great. So we're going to be speaking of how automation fosters lovable customer experiences. So let's start really high level. What does end-to-end automation mean at Westfield?
Yeah, thanks for that. That's a pretty broad question, but I would say end-to-end automation at Westfield is kind of a concept. We really are striving to provide, most importantly, a frictionless customer experience. At the same time, we want to focus on streamlining our processes for our Westfield claims professionals, and we continue to work towards the concept of the, kind of that golden nugget of the no-touch claim. And so. But we also, we think about the no-touch claim, but that we also know that there's an element of claims that might be low touch, high touch, but really it's about the right touch at the right time.
And when thinking about each type of those claims, the low touch, high touch, no touch, what specifically is Westfield doing to automate?
Yeah, so we've spent a lot of time over the last several years working on some of the building blocks or foundational capabilities. We started that back really probably as long as, I guess, 2012, when we started working on the implementation of a new core claim system, and that's Guidewire Claim Center. That's kind of the hub of our wheel. And as we continue, building out the spokes of those capabilities, we're focused on things like fraud modeling, digital payment solutions, e-signature capabilities, the electronic claim file, and most recently we have a pretty large effort kicking off around the digital first notice of loss, so that front end for the customer. And these efforts aren't just in claims, by the way. They're going on around in many of our other business units here at Westfield.
Sounds like you guys are doing a lot. When claims leaders are thinking of automation, they're always focused on what to do. What specifically is Westfield not looking to automate?
Yeah, so really it's important to note that the most important asset that we have as a carrier is our people. And our focus is really on working to automate the processes where we can add the most value for not only our customer, but make our people more efficient in their roles. It's important that our team focus on claims where their expertise and mind can be used, and their decision making is critical. We don't want to necessarily have them focus on the repetitive, mundane tasks that they do day to day. We really want them focused on the higher level decision making in terms of the claims process. So a lot of things that we do, we're focused on allowing them to do that.
I love that, really having them focus on what their job really is instead of those mundane tasks. And with this automation, it allows your adjusters to be more efficient and productive.
Right.
Can you touch on some of those practices? What are those tasks that you're looking to eliminate?
Yeah, so again, focusing on efficiency and consistency. How can we reduce or eliminate those tasks and focus on really value-added activities? So I think we've seen a reduction in some of our processing times, and a couple of examples that I think that we've worked on in the past here include some automated documents. So essentially business rules set up to send automated emails or mail if that's necessary. Or as we get into the texting world, there's some stuff there that we've done. Also, we've automated some things around our payment process, and we have that in place. And so if you think of things like in workers' comp, you get some of the payments that we want to make, on a weekly basis. So we're able to, instead of an adjuster going in every week and keying in that payment, we've set up a process where they can do that, and it's automatic. we certainly see the benefits. I mentioned our claims texting program. So we've made it, as we've kind of grown a little bit here with Hi Marley, we've made it easier for our team to create cases, kicking off the process at FNOL,
Mhm.
as opposed to, the post FNOL. So, previously, the way we set it up, individuals had to go into Hi Marley, create a case manually, enter the information, and that started the process. So we saw about, for those that were available to use the texting process, about 10 to 12% of our eligible claims had some sort of texting involved. When we automated our process with Hi Marley, as far as case creation and a few other things, we saw that that go to 40% of our eligible claims.
Wow.
So the automation had a really substantial impact.
That sounds amazing. And I think any claims leader would want to hear about how more eligible claims are going into a system that's making their adjusters more efficient and productive. Let's pivot a little bit. There's a common belief that automation means a trade-off with customer experience. What's Westfield doing to both improve customer experience while also automating?
Yeah, I guess I don't really see that there's really a trade-off necessarily. If I had to describe it, I would say it's more of a polarity that we are aware of and we work towards. So it's a balance. How do we have automation and improve the customer experience? We can do both.
Mhm.
And claims, it's really, it's accurately paying what we owe in a cost-effective and efficient manner. So how can we facilitate that process, and really not have it be looked at as a trade-off? I really believe we can do both.
That's great. Can you share a real life experience of how Westfield uses automation to reduce costs while improving the customer experience?
Yeah, so sure. Since you have me on here, we'll use the Hi Marley example, and texting really gives the customer an opportunity to communicate in a way that they're familiar with, and really it's a way that they want to communicate today. So everyone is texting. I'm sure the audience who's watching this right now is texting someone somewhere. So beyond, and that's really beyond the insurance transaction.
Mhm.
So Westfield's recognized that a benefit of automating this process with Hi Marley. We've taken a manual process that I described a little earlier, the case creation, and we made it very simple to create a conversation. So basically, it's a click of a button as opposed to re-entering manual data.
Mhm.
So we also focused on the end of the conversation, and we automatically return the texting transcript to the claim file when the conversation is complete, or the claim is closed. So that has made that process, from a really a manual download into our claims professionals not even having to worry about that transcript and how it's going to get back to their claim. And as far as cost goes, I really look at the reduced cost as reduced compliance risk. So prior to Hi Marley, we may have had adjusters, and I'm sure other carriers have had this issue too, where they may be texting from their work phone. And there's always a question is, does that conversation make its way back? And, obviously in a perfect world, we would like to think that that's true. But by automating the transcript process in Hi Marley, we've reduced that risk, really eliminated that risk. And we're really not concerned about lingering text conversations outside of our file anymore. So that's been a good thing.
So you're really reducing costs and improving the experience, not only for the customer, allowing them to text on how they want to, but also the adjuster with not having to do these mundane tasks, making sure transcripts get into your diary or your claims portal. I'm glad that we were able to help with that. So claims automation, I think it really comes down to it's only as good as the data that's provided to you and how you use it. Can you touch a little bit of how Westfield uses data to support automation and the strategy of bringing automation to your adjusters?
Sure. I'll stay on the example of, kind of building on what I just mentioned in terms of Hi Marley, and we recently were given access to Marley Insights. So when it comes to texting data, we're still learning, but there is a lot of information that's at our fingertips, and we can very quickly see things like our customers opt-in rates. And if we see, and I think we're currently somewhere around 72 to 75% since the beginning of 2021. So if we monitor that and we notice that there's a dip in that um, rate, we can certainly look to look to our adjusters, and we can see that, are we presenting texting to our customers appropriately. Something we can very proactively monitor as opposed to reactive. Additionally, things like surveys are now automated. So again, when we first went live with Hi Marley, we manually pushed out surveys. There was maybe some ability to be a little more selective on when we wanted to push those surveys out, which maybe gave us a little bit of a false sense of security as far as, we only having our adjusters push things out on files that may have gone wonderfully. And we know that there can be files that don't necessarily go that way. So I think with the automation of surveys, we're getting the true view of how texting and how the claims process is going when we get those responses. Also, I would say traditionally, our typical customer survey, which we still use today, our response rate is around 15%. I think might be a little off on that, but generally around 15%. With the automation of the texting survey, we have around a 40+% return rate, which I think gives us some really great additional feedback for the claims professional, and it's much more, I would say, real time. We're also digging into some other available information around customer sentiment, which we have in other parts of our organization, but I think it'll be really interesting to dig into customer sentiment around the texting process, and then understand how we can use that to better inform our staff, and maybe provide some additional training around service.
That sounds great. And now, to bring it all back together, to close it out, if I was a claims leader listening to you right now, what do you think the 3 main takeaways are for me to then go back to my claims team and say, we're creating our automation strategy, we need to do A, B, and C, or focus on A, B, and C? What are those 3 things?
Yeah, I think, obviously every organization is different, but from my experience, and I think our experience here at Westfield, I think first, as I mentioned above or earlier, that people are our most important asset. So it's important that we consider the impact on the team. Are we gaining efficiencies through automation, or are we creating additional, effort and expense, maybe even expense elsewhere? So really focusing on what's the impact to our people, firstly. And then I think it is, the customer is this, what's the effect on the customer? Well, that's really why we're here anyway, to service our customer and take that risk and obviously pay claims where we have coverage. So are we simplifying the process for the customer to communicate with us, to receive a payment, to resolve their claim, or are we creating a more frustrating experience? So if we automate something internally for our team, but we make it much more difficult for the customer to do business with us, I don't think we're really accomplishing our goals. So this doesn't mean that as we learn, and I think we've found this, as we learn, we don't want to make a more frustrating experience, but as we've learned, there may be frustrating experiences. So there's a difference there. And that is, as we learn new processes and technology, change management, both internally as well as with the customer, you can run into some challenges, but I don't think that should necessarily deter the effort. So working through those experiences, again, as long as, the end goal is to make it a more seamless experience, more frictionless, as I mentioned earlier. And then lastly, I think is around vision and strategy. Is there a clear vision and strategy? Sometimes it takes trying a lot of different things, but in the end, I think it's important to begin with the end in mind. So where do you envision as an organization or as a claims team that you see yourself, at the end of the journey? And really, I think we're finding there's maybe not necessarily an end to the journey. It's more of a continuous journey and continuing to transform yourself or ourselves. There can be detours along the way, but I think if you establish a plan and stay focused, there can be a lot of value added to the process, to the organization, and ultimately the customer.
Well, thank you, Jason. This has been extremely insightful, and thank you for sharing how your team is continuing to automate the claims process while saving costs, but also thinking of your customers and your adjusters on how to make them more efficient. I'll be leaving everyone with this conference with a blog that Rob Bowers, National Claims and Customer Service Leader, wrote about the human component of claims transformation. Thanks again, Jason. I very much enjoyed it.
Thank you, Julia.